Hello, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the NOLAnerdcast reviews a movie segment thing called Movie Reviews.
Smooth as silk.
Right?
Every time.
Great intro.
Iron Man 3, the NOLAnerdcast review.
How many has this been?
I don't know.
I'm sorry, do you mean the Avengers
20-something.
2?
I'm Matt.
I'm Chris.
I'm Andy.
We're just going to blow off your question.
Yeah, we are.
Do you mean the Avengers 2?
No.
No, because it actually acts as a standalone
Because
film.
it's not
But
Avengers.
it's also a sequel to the Avengers.
In
Kinda.
passing.
It's a 0.5 sequel.
It says, like...
You know how X-Men
It's
came
in
out...
between.
You know how X-Men had that DVD re-release of X-Men 1.5?
Right.
This is Avengers 1.5.
Yeah, but
With, like,
okay.
5 passing mentions of, hey, what happened in New
Yeah,
York?
but
But-
it's kind of like Avengers 2 from the perspective of Tony. But I mean, not really.
I think Avengers 2 will be the Avengers 2 for Tony.
Yeah.
I think this is Avengers 1.5.
I think this is Iron
Fair
Man
enough.
3 that
Fair
takes
enough.
place after Avengers 1.
Fair enough.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
Alright, let's, how
Genre.
do you want to structure this?
Let's talk about what we liked.
Well, let's go around and, yeah, let's talk about what we
What we liked. What'd you like?
why don't you go first?
I like the fact that the movie focused on Tony Stark. You know, Iron Man 2 is a movie that I personally think gets better every time I watch it, but it was jammed with everyone. Everyone had their own little stories, and Tony was not really the focus so much as it was everyone else.
And that was the unfortunate prospect of just that it had to be done.
Yeah. But I think in this one, they really streamlined it, and the movie was almost 95% focused on Tony. And we saw how he deals with his post-traumatic stress from Avengers, and how he views himself in the world.
I totally agree. I like that this was pretty much about Tony. It wasn't just about Iron Man. It was about Tony Stark. It was a nice little character study into Tony's head. I mean, a lot of the movie you see him thinking and trying to figure out this mystery, and I really, really like that about this movie. One of the problems I had with Iron Man 2, it wasn't really centered on Tony. It was centered on his enemies and his friends. It didn't feel like a movie about Tony Stark, and it was also a big setup for the Avengers. But I think with this movie, it gave it more time to breathe, because we're not going into the Avengers 2 right away. You know, there's a little more conflict to be held within Tony. It was a very psychological kind of movie. I also thought the action sequences were really top-notch. Really, really, really top-notch. I know there were very few of them, but they were really, really well done. Especially in IMAX, the whole I don't know if anyone else on IMAX, but the whole the
Plane rescue?
The plane rescue scene was absolutely beautiful. Like, the way they shot it was just awesome. I really just enjoyed all the action sequences. The last action sequence on the oil rig with, spoilers, the 40 Iron Man suits, really, really well done. Especially that they use a lot of the suits that Tony used in the comics. It was nice to see a lot of those.
That was in the trailer. I don't call that a spoiler.
Yeah, whatever.
Yeah, well, this review is going to have spoilers in it. So.
Right. But yeah, no, I quite enjoyed this film a lot.
Okay.
Yeah.
I liked Pepper Potts in this one.
Yeah.
I think it's worth noting that it's very rare for especially in a superhero genre film, that the woman, the love interest is not just relegated to a damsel in distress role. Pepper Potts, Gwyneth Paltrow did a great job of making her character strong in her own self, and even though we still haven't actually quite got there yet, a lot of subtle nods to rescue.
Yeah.
Character.
There were a couple of preconceived notions I had going into this.
Yeah.
I was convinced that Pepper Potts was going to put on a rescue suit at some point.
Well, originally, and I read an interview with Shane Black, originally that was going to be in Iron Man 2, that you were going to see the rescue suit. They cut it out. There was art for it. It was going to be in Iron Man 3, but Shane Black said he didn't want to see that suit because he wanted to see Pepper Potts in the man suit, because he thought that would be stronger for her to be not in a feminized suit, but in the male Iron Man suit. So, you know, it was just his choice.
But unfortunately, I find that actually makes her less, like, individualized at that point. By wanting to make her seem less feminine, you just made her Iron Man, but not even really her.
It kind of,
yeah.
I would say it kind of defeats the specialness that, like, anyone can put on an Iron Man suit and be like, I can totally do
That
that.
was the whole thing in the movie too. It's this whole idea that, like, Tony Stark is Iron Man, but there was a lot more other Iron Mans. Like it was like not everybody wants to be Iron Man. I really like that. It's kind of that like sort of Batman standpoint where it's like Batman isn't a person, he's an idea. Iron Man's an idea too. He's a concept in this film. I really like that because I've never seen that done with Iron Man before because I've always seen Tony Stark as Iron Man. The fact that this made Iron Man into kind of like an idea or an ideal was really interesting.
I didn't get that.
I don't agree with that because I think the premise of the movie is very simple in the beginning. It's I am Iron Man, and I think this movie is the movie where Tony Stark accepted that as Tony Stark he's Iron Man, in addition to being the dude in the suit, being Iron Man.
This was him learning that he wasn't just Iron Man.
Right. He's Iron Man
and Tony
without
Stark.
a suit.
And Tony.
Yeah.
But he had to realize that from seeing Iron Man outside of himself, too.
Right.
And other people as Iron Man as well.
Right.
Because, Rhodey is also an Iron Man. He's Iron Patriot. He's a sold-out Iron Man, kind of.
But that was in part 2.
Yeah, but also it was in 3. I mean, it was more evident that, the government, kind of bought and sold it. Although Rhodey was a good character, Rhodey's good
fucked
person.
up is the War Machine operating system between Hammer Industries fucking with it and AIM fucking with it. It's got to be like just the worst.
Garbage.
Let's bring up the other things this movie brought in. We got AIM,
right?
In a sense,
kind of AIM.
Advanced Idea Mechanics.
You know
it's
what?
just a company.
You know what? As much as everyone would have been thrilled to have like the B-suit guys and MODOK, we were never going to get that.
No, but I think they could have played AIM up to be more because it's supposed to be a thing like the think tank of evil scientists.
Yeah, it was still kind of evil.
But there was only 2 scientists and the rest were thugs the entire time.
Here's my issue with AIM in the movies. Is like AIM developed Extremis and nothing else. Like they didn't build anything.
Well, hold up, because we don't know that because AIM could be a seed in other movies. You could see it pop up in other movies too. Well, so you can't just say that's the only thing. No,
based on this movie,
yes,
AIM did nothing but make Extremis.
And they made the Iron Patriot armor.
And if Thor 2 comes out and AIM's somehow doing crazy magic weapons
or
with Loki,
Captain America or something, I don't know.
Yeah, but for right now, as it stands, AIM is less than what it could and should have been.
AIM is basically just Hammer Industries.
Yeah.
It's just another corporation.
It's a reskin.
It's another corporation.
And
it's another corporation.
I'll give you that.
Let's see, we got Iron Patriot, which, I mean, you can't really do the true origin of Iron Patriot because then you have Norman Osborn. It could happen. So just by reskinning it as a more patriotic Iron Man, that actually makes sense. That sounds like something the government would do.
I liked it. I thought it worked out really well.
I thought it did
you got kind of like an inkling of Iron Patriot being a villain, sort of.
Yeah. Man, he just needs to let Tony just write his suit. Just be done with it.
Seriously.
Seriously. It's like the second time. I
think to get the most out of this review and the discussion this will generate, why don't we talk about the things that didn't quite work for us?
Okay.
Well, since this is spoilers, let's get the big 2 out of the way.
You go away. Because I think these were the 2 most divisive parts of the movie, and it could have gone either way.
Ben Kingsley was great as the Mandarin, acting-wise.
You mean Trevor Slattery?
The first big thing that I think is going to cause division between the ranks of fans
I think it already is
the Mandarin does not exist. The Mandarin as a character does not exist.
Okay.
That's not true.
The 10-ringed ancient Chinese guy does not exist.
Yes.
Aldrich Killian, the head of AIM, proclaims himself the Mandarin.
Instead we have an Osama bin Laden style character named the Mandarin, but he doesn't actually exist. He's a fabrication.
Yeah.
Right.
And it's an interesting choice. It's kind of like what happened in Ultimate Spider-Man, the first edition, when Kraven the Hunter was, like, everyone was talking about how hot shit Kraven the Hunter is, but he was just a reality TV star.
Exactly.
And he didn't have anything more to that.
Here's the thing. Logically, as a fan, I can understand that in the realm that they're making, especially at least in the Iron Man film trilogy, having a character like the Mandarin with alien tech / magic rings that are basically like mini versions of the Infinity Gauntlet that can do different things wouldn't work. Not to mention the fact that the Mandarin himself is a fairly blatant Asian terrorist caricature. I like the twist they went on that, and they made him like a really charismatic evil terrorist.
Yes.
I thought his connection to Tony, like Iron Man in general, was very tenuous, and that his his just complete 180 vendetta against the Mandarin came out of nowhere. And was first like, yes, Happy went into a coma because of a bomb blast, but there seemed a disconnect to me.
Here's how I view it. It's like you know, Tony watches the news and sees like, oh yeah, Mandarin blew up like 5 things. Yeah, whatever. And then his friend gets it. He's like, well, fuck this guy.
And then why exactly would Mandarin target him specifically? I mean, we know why, because AIM
called him out.
Yeah. Because he called him out and gave him his address. Well, it was him being cocky.
I find it hard to believe that no one knew what his address was anyway.
Well, I mean,
he's like, where's Tony Stark live?
Yeah.
Well, I don't know.
I think Killian knew where he was. He used that as an opportunity to get rid of Tony.
Yeah.
Because it was a good opportunity.
So the big thing is the Mandarin comes out and we find out that he is just an actor being paid to play the Mandarin on these little viral marketing videos by AIM Industries.
Which is kind of a brilliant idea because everyone's looking for him.
Right.
But not for like the master
threat, like an outside threat, not an inside threat.
So like, you know, Aldrich Killian like goes to the White House like AIM has at your disposal to help take out this terrorist.
Yeah.
And everyone's looking for that fucking guy and not Aldrich Killian. Which I think is kind of a clever plan.
Or a thinly veiled allegory to the war in Iraq, right, Chris?
Or not really war in Iraq.
I know. But
I can see why fans, because this is basically the biggest, most gigantic fuck you. It's like, you want the Mandarin? You want the 10-ring guy? Great, you got him. But guess what? He's faking.
I don't think that's a fuck you. Because
I think it's a gigantic
fuck
you.
I don't think it is. And I think people who view it as a fuck you just need to reevaluate, because that's not a big fuck you. I mean, they still presented Tony a rival, and they still presented him as Tony's arch nemesis. But they just did it in a different light. I don't think they're going to ever be able to do. Well, even as a terrorist organization, I don't think they're able.
Then I honestly think they should have chosen a different villain. I think they should have chosen Crimson Dynamo or something like that.
Well, and here's the thing: is like what I like about these Iron Man movies is like they don't really have a real villain. Like,
I think that's Iron Man's biggest weakness.
Yeah,
they don't really have. He doesn't have a rogues gallery. Like, that's a problem.
Will you tell me the Black Knight can't carry his own movie? Or Whirlwind?
It's just.
I actually would have preferred Whirlwind.
I mean, I feel like every movie has to have like a villain, and like I'm getting this on the new Star Trek movie too. It's like, well, what's the villain? Like, people care about that. Like, you know what? Sometimes you don't need. You just need a conflict, and you need someone to bring up that conflict, and you can make reference to his past rogues and villains, but he doesn't really have like an arch nemesis like Batman,
superhero movies
or Superman
in
Lex Luthor.
General. They thrive off their villain because it's the foil to the hero that really.
And that's
so by having weak, but it didn't really happen this movie.
It did. No, he had a foil. He had Killian. That was his foil.
I'll get to Killian.
Oh,
that was his foil.
But let's talk about the second biggest divisive part of this is that the buddy cop little 8-year-old sidekick who is so fast on the quips. It's like Brian Michael Bendis wrote him.
But here's the thing.
He is also can totally fix an Iron Man armor via communication, and is just the bee's knees, guys. He's so adorable and cool, and he makes everything better.
Well, here's the thing about this. Shane Black wrote this movie. Shane Black's best known for Lethal Weapon, Kiss Kiss Bang Bang. He's kind of one of those screenwriters that had his kind of height in the late 80s. He kind of had a few films after that, but what he did with this movie is I think what he wanted to do is he took like a lot of those 80s movie kind of cliches, and he kind of like put them in the movie. So that kid was like one of those like 80s movies kind of cliches.
Explaining why it happened doesn't do anything for
me.
I'm just saying.
I mean, I don't think it's that divisive. I don't think it's like he's not in the film enough for it to be divisive. Like if he was in the film like for the whole entire time, maybe I could see that. He's in the good chunk of it,
like
the good middle part.
30% of the movie.
Yeah, good middle part. That's not a big chunk of the film, but like I think it was there to kind of compare Tony's childlike mind to this kid. I think that's what it was, because he's kind of like a big boy, man boy guy. And then this kid was kind of like mature past his time, so they were kind of like the same sort of character.
Here's what I think.
You see what I mean?
I think that if this kid were a worse actor, that this would have killed the whole thing.
Good thing.
No, he did a very good job.
But I think this kid is good enough and charming enough that you put a superhero kid in this, and he's just like, oh, don't do that. But the kid is quick. The kid's charming. He gives Tony as good as he gets, and I kind of can't help but love that.
Also,
from a reeked of Deus Ex.
From a marketing standpoint,
he's Tony Stark. He's got Deus Ex everything.
I
think that's one of his armors.
From a marketing standpoint, these are family films. There's been no child characters thus far. I think that was they just decided to add a child character. Just so the kids have someone to look up to.
Here is the only thing that would have blown me away about the kid, and I read this somewhere else, and I was like, that would have been genius.
Mm-hmm.
If to tie in to fucking Guardians of the Galaxy, we found out that his father, who left 6 years ago, ended up being Star-Lord. And then he came back down, and that kid grows up to be fucking Nova or something.
That could be interesting.
Because that's the story of Nova.
That could be interesting.
That his dad disappears, and because he's been in fucking space being Nova or Star-Lord or something.
That could be Chris Pratt's kid. I could see that.
That could still happen.
Maybe.
I'm just saying. That would be...
But who cares about Nova?
And also,
right
now, we're Phase 2 started 3 days ago.
Right.
So who knows what the rest of Phase 2 has to bring. So this kid could very well end up being Nova. Or something.
I'm going to highly doubt it. Because
his name is Harley.
Tease it
and Nova's name isn't Harley, so I think they would use his real name.
So those are the two big ones.
I think those are the most divisive things. I didn't have a problem with either one.
Me neither. So. I thought they were great.
I know you disliked
them. I would never.
Actually, the reviews, none of the negative reviews I read actually said those as problems with the film. Actually, none of the negative reviews I said actually were fine with the Mandarin.
I actually would be fine with the Mandarin reveal if there was a better villain to back him up.
So let's talk about Killian.
Well, all right. Well,
you mean Guy Pearce?
He was great. The actor that played him, Guy Pearce, did a great job. Although I think he was actually outplayed by his own henchman.
Yeah, actually.
Yeah.
He's a little outplayed.
And that's the big problem with Killian, and the whole point of AIM and Extremis to me to begin with is that you can tell me he's the big genius behind it all, but really, he is completely interchangeable with everyone else he gave Extremis to.
Yes, at this point.
100%. They all did the same thing.
The only thing he has different is that he can breathe fire. And he has a sweet...
I don't know that no one else can do that.
And he has a sweet Fin Fang Foom tattoo.
Yeah, that's why you like him.
No. That's not why I like Guy Pearce's performance. I like the fact that he's totally this nihilistic kind of guy who's been shat on by Tony Stark.
And I can totally believe him also as his previous incarnation as the super crippled, stuttering, loser.
Yeah.
Who only had his genius beyond him. And I believe and accepted and I enjoyed his transformation to what he is now. But when it came time, from a movie standpoint, as an action film, when it came time to actually be the bad guy, he was just like anyone else fighting the 40 Iron Man suits.
That's one of my... I think if I had a problem is that Extremis...
I felt there was a lot of wasted potential.
It was so skinned down, because Extremis was hacking the human body, turning a brain into a basic computer. And that's how, in the Extremis comic.
Yeah, it was very much cookie cutter, you just get fire powers.
You get fire powers and super strength.
You become
and you can heal. It took the botanist thing. We were talking how Extremis, the whole premise of the book was, and it was genius, is that this guy creates Extremis, and it lets him create an armor that beats Tony at everything. He cannot touch this guy because it's linked to his mind and not his body, so he outperforms Tony at every way, and the only way Tony can defeat him is by taking Extremis himself, and that's where we get the armor that attaches to him and links to his brain, and we got that, but it never became in order to beat this guy at his own game, I have to improve his own thing.
Yeah, I mean...
that would have been perfect, and then it would have explained Pepper, and we could have gotten Rescue, and all sorts of things, but I think they just made Extremis so
They simplified it.
They really did simplify it. And I'm glad that they did, though, because I think if you would have explained too much to the audience, they would have been bored. You gotta explain things.
They couldn't have had... in the scene where he's showing him the brain... And explaining what Extremis can do, and then we saw the botanist and what she was doing with healing and stuff. You could have shown us that. You didn't have to hit us up the throat. They didn't explain how Extremis gave everyone fire and superpowers, but we accepted it. So if someone's suit was kicking Tony Stark's ass, we can understand it's because Extremis, brain.
Yeah. I like how Tony Stark also fixed Extremis in 5 minutes after the major fight.
Yeah, he did. And then and then his heart was fixed.
That almost is a bigger problem for me than the Mandarin. Because at the end, he removes his own repulsor unit, fixes his heart, And it's like, I'm totally cured, guys. I don't need this anymore.
Here's the thing about that is we don't know if this is going to be the last Iron Man movie.
But see, that hurts themselves. Why? What was stopping them from pulling a James Bond like they have the Hulk and just having a new person be Tony? Why remove the Iron Man aspect? Like I don't know. It seemed unnecessary.
Well,
I don't know.
Here's my question.
It's like the problem I had with Dark Knight Rises, where at the end he's like, "Oh, I'm actually living a happy life with Catwoman in France, and everything's hunky dory."
Here's my question: what powers the Iron Man suits?
It was the repulsor.
No, it's not. Because his suit's always out of power.
And also because everyone else can use one.
Yeah.
It's not the repulsor.
It's not the repulsor.
It's his own brand of energy.
So what the fuck's the point of it? If he's not using it to power his suits, because all his suits are dead.
Well, I don't think he's done being Iron Man.
He's totally not.
At the end, he says he's Iron Man, and he takes this little machine thing away.
I mean, the repulsor, he took the repulsor out, but the repulsor's not powering his suit, so he could just jump in a fucking suit and just be like, yep, still Iron Man.
The Iron Patriot's still around.
Oh, no, and I agree. I don't understand why they would do that to Tony Stark's character.
Here's what I think.
It seemed unnecessary.
Here's what I think the reason is. I think that Robert Downey Jr. is just about done with the Avengers.
He's said it many times.
Yeah,
I know.
So this way, taking out that, we have a nice Iron Man trilogy box set.
Yes.
That tells one complete story.
Right.
And it's done.
Yeah.
And if you want to read the side stories, you can go to Avengers and Guardians and Avengers too. As an ending, it's weird because this is something that comic Tony would never do. There would always be something like.
Well, I guess the problem is Marvel's position themselves in a sense where, unlike the Dark Knight trilogy, where it's its own self-contained story, and if Batman actually gets his happy ever after and quits being Batman, that's fine. That story's been told.
Yeah.
Marvel put themselves in a place where, guess what? It's not self-contained. We have an ongoing universe. Iron Man's going to be part of this. They don't get that luxury, unfortunately.
It's a bit of a conundrum that I think that Whedon's going to have to solve.
I mean, as far as standalone Iron Man movies, like if you watch just those by themselves, you have one complete story, and you're fine. And I think that's the reason why they did it. So that they could put a stopper on Robert Downey Jr. doing self-contained.
Right.
But you can still do Iron Man movies. You can get another guy. You can go back to his teenage years.
Certainly.
You go to the future, make it an ultimate story. Who cares?
Am I sad that we only got one Unibeam, ever?
It's okay. I'm not that hyped about the Unibeam.
I guess let's get to one of my final, maybe another problem I had with the film.
Our audience was dumb, by the way.
Really?
Yeah.
Really?
Okay.
Which one? The second time? Or
second time. Because they injected Pepper with Extremis, and then Pepper fell in a pit, and everyone was like,
oh my God!
Yeah, no, actually, this girl next to me, when I saw it, gasped. And I was like, are you not following?
She just got Extremis, and you think she's not going to come back out of that fire?
That is actually a problem I have with the film. The script predicted that, because what happens is after Pepper Potts dies, Tony is sad for 2 seconds. I think he'd be a little more fucking distraught. He's like, oh, yeah, she's dead.
All right,
but maybe that's his adrenaline bringing out. But I did have a little bit of problem with that. I feel like at that moment, Killian could have had him on the ropes.
I don't think I liked the 40 armor fight.
I loved it. I liked the action.
I think. And I will explain why I didn't like the 40 armor fight. I thought visually it was awesome.
Oh, yeah, it looked great.
But it's actually my final problem with the film as a whole is that this entire movie, Iron Man's a bitch and gets his ass kicked up and down all the time. He doesn't even rally and win at the end. And the same thing for Rhodey. Iron Patriot gets his ass kicked all the time. None of them accomplish anything of note except rescuing some people that fell from a plane.
Rhodey is more effective not in the suit than he is in the suit.
Yeah, he is, actually.
He is parkouring around just jacking dudes in the face.
He's not effective in the suit at all.
And part of it is plot related. They were like, well, I guess we want Tony to fall and stumble and have to pick himself up. How are we going to do that? We're going to give him a prototype armor throughout the fight, the movie that continually fails him. And it never has weapons. As an Iron Man movie, it bothers me that the entire film Iron Man sucks.
But I mean, that's the whole point of it. I mean, it's showing he's getting
as
old.
Someone who went to go see Iron Man be cool and do Iron Man-y things.
You don't know. Sorry, I'll comment. You don't always get that, and I like this. I like this kind of universe where the good guy doesn't always work out for him.
Who goes
the whole
to
movie?
See
it's the whole movie. It's not the whole
Name
movie.
one time where he succeeds without getting his ass kicked.
he saves the
Then
people on
he
the
calls
plane.
the 40 armors in, and even they're getting kicked by... All the armors are being destroyed by no-name extremist people. So even the and then we get the Hulkbuster armor. We're like, holy shit! And what's he used for? Holding up something.
That's a strong suit of armor.
He continually flies in
It's not called
armor,
Hulkbuster.
turns around and gets
It's
dismantled
not called
again.
Hulkbuster.
That would be offensive to his science.
Has to eject again. Goes into another one. Gets his ass kicked. All the way to the final confrontation, where Pepper Potts rescues him with one punch.
I will say, I did like him jumping from suit to suit.
No,
I thought
visually
awesome.
that was fantastic.
I thought that
because
was
that's something only he would do, and I love it. But it bothers me because even Batman, who in his movies gets his ass kicked and rises, at the end he rises and
Does he?
succeeds.
He does.
Iron Man, when he's supposed to, you killed my woman. I here it is, final confrontation time. Nope, got my ass
This was
kicked.
about Tony Stark retiring as Iron Man.
So
He was
I
getting
don't
his
think
ass.
he's retired.
Yes. Well,
No.
metaphorically, yes. This was about Tony Stark getting his ass handed to him. This wasn't an Iron Man movie. This is a Tony Stark movie, and that's kind of why I like this. It was about him.
that doesn't
He saved the day in the Avengers, but he doesn't get to do that all the time. If they were to come after the Avengers and have a movie where Iron Man kicks ass and saves the day, woo America, what would be the point? What would be the entire
There's
point?
a difference between
You
him
wanna-
not saving
You
the day all
want
the
to
time
see
and
people.
never even putting
You
up a
want to
fight,
see people fail before
so they can
they
bring them.
succeed.
Yeah, but he never succeeded.
You're right. He
It's a-
doesn't.
Ooh, this isn't an indie film that has a deep message. I want Iron Man to be an action film where he kicks some ass.
Maybe I want
And I
something
didn't
deeper than
get
that in Marvel Hero in Marvel in the Marvel movies.
Aven-
Maybe I don't want.
Avengers set the bar where it's action and with
But
humor
But Avengers is a team up movie. This is a character study movie.
So you're saying
What I'm
that
saying,
just
Iron
because
Man
it's a
3 is character driven.
No, I know.
And Avengers is story driven. This is a character driven piece.
I agree.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean it can't have some victory.
And it did.
But it didn't.
And he still won.
What do you think, Chris?
Huh?
What do you think?
Oh yeah, I'm trying to now. I liked it as is.
Yeah.
I didn't have any major issues. Well, any of the issues I had were kind of minimal. I've seen it twice in like 3 days. I'm going to see it again
Me
tomorrow.
too. Yeah.
So I find it eminently watchable.
No, it is. And
Way
I
more
think I
watchable,
have to
too.
make that point, and I preface this to both of you, is that I actually enjoyed this film.
Yeah.
I just feel like everyone else is sucking it off, and I'm going to play devil's advocate a bit.
I think
All
that's fair.
That's fair enough.
I mean, you know, this movie does have
All the other problems I had with the film, with a boring villain and the Mandarin twist and the little kid and whatever, I think I would have enjoyed more if Iron Man had done one positive thing. Because using remote control to catch people from a plane,
It's okay.
I mean, from the beginning
That
to the
sequence
end,
was
I
awesome.
thought the whole thing with his suit flying on him was fantastic and led itself to a lot of hilarious parts. But I
Beaver
mean,
was really
even
good.
when his home's being destroyed, it all comes down to Jarvis going, "Oh, that's not ready yet. Oh, our power's failing. Oh, I'm malfunctioning. Oh, I guess you shouldn't have had a prototype." It reeked of a plot point rather than any real reason why Tony wouldn't have gotten another suit to begin with. If he could have called him at any time through Jarvis, why didn't he call a more functional suit? Why stick with that prototype that kept failing him and made his fight scenes just one big punching bag? As a story of Tony Stark falling, becoming vulnerable because he's seen things that, as a man of science, defy rationalization, and I completely understand why that would freak him out. And his growth arc as Tony Stark was great in this film.
I even like the flashback to Jerk Tony Stark in the 90s.
Oh yeah,
That was great.
it was pitch perfect, and it has to be said that Robert Downey Jr. nails it in every scene. But when Iron Man comes into the picture, I found myself enjoying it less than when I was just watching Tony Stark be Tony Stark, because it was frustrating.
Yeah,
I'm like,
I agree with
I'm why?
I don't.
Well, we've gathered that.
I think it's good.
This is my favorite Iron Man film. This is my second favorite Marvel film after the Avengers. I'm
gonna have to rewatch them all again to
this
decide.
really hit me on all
right now,
levels,
I'm giving it to Iron Man 1 still.
It's a good start for Phase 2. It's a great stepping point.
What do we think? Let's talk about other things. Special effects.
Great.
Good.
Yeah.
Great.
I mean,
Awesome.
I will say I think the final fight scene was just a bit too convoluted. Just a lot of stuff flying by.
The final
That's
fight
fair.
scene was style over substance.
Yeah, I agree.
Quantity over quality.
That's fair. I'll give you that.
What about the after credit scene? Which was
Humorous, little disappointing.
Here's the thing. I saw this on another website. Is that the Iron Man, all the after credit things have pushed the story forward if the movies themselves have not. So I mean, even in Avengers, we had the joke one with the shawarma, and
But
then
we had the real one with Thanos.
Yeah,
this
and
is
this
the
one,
first.
and this is the first one that's just straight up, just like Bruce Banner doesn't give a shit about your problems.
Well, basically the entire movie is just him talking to Bruce Banner.
And Bruce Banner has been
he's
sleeping
regaling
the
the
whole time.
story. Yeah.
Yeah. And Bruce Banner's sleeping.
Who do you think gave the better performance outside of Robert Downey Jr.? Guy Pearce or Gwyneth Paltrow?
Oh, Guy Pearce. Gwyneth Paltrow sucks.
You think so?
I like her as Pepper.
I think she did a really good job.
I think she's really
Here's the thing.
good.
I think she's a good Pepper Potts.
Yeah. I don't like her much out of anything else.
like her.
Really?
Yeah.
I like Gwyneth Paltrow. I think she's great.
Gwyneth Paltrow is like Drew Barrymore for me.
Oh, God, she's much better than Drew Barrymore.
She works in one role. Like these are the only movies I've enjoyed Gwyneth Paltrow in.
Also, I don't think she's that pretty. I said it.
Oh, she's the prettiest. Yeah. She works for.
What? I guess you want to wrap it up.
Might as well.
Do you have any final words? Yeah, this is our. We knew this was, but people love the debate. I guess.
All right, well, let's give our final ratings and be done with it.
And your final ratings. Would you buy it? And final thoughts.
Okay.
All right.
I'm going to give this a 9. I will buy it opening day, and I think this is a good start to the summer season. If any of the movies are at least half as good as this, then we're in for a great summer. Because this was kind of the perfect summer movie. It had some thought to it.
Do you think this is
action.
the one to beat?
No.
Okay.
I think it's going to be Star Trek.
Of course it is. Just like Star Trek was on your top 10 anticipated games of 2013. Oops.
We're done.
What about you, Andy?
I give this a 9. Yes, I'm gonna buy this. I've been holding off on buying all the Iron Mans just to wait until because I wasn't
Might as well
big on
get a
Iron Man
box.
2, so I'll just
they're going to come out with a trilogy.
Yeah, that's when I'll get it. This was great. I don't know. This might be the one to beat. I don't know if I can make that call yet. This is pretty good.
I give it an 8. Gonna buy it day one. I gave the movie a lot of shit, but a lot of it was because I don't know. It's just I'm usually the one who is super optimistic and loves everything and doesn't really find much fault in the stuff.
Well, it wasn't an optimistic movie. Maybe that's why.
No, that's not the reason
But
why. I don't know why.
How do you think it's going to play watching all the Iron Mans back to back?
But I don't think you can.
I think you can.
I think you can.
I mean, if you want
to watch the Avengers in between.
I was going to say, if you want to go with Andy's notion that this is a sequel to Avengers.
25.
Yeah.
So
I give it an 8.
Yeah.
I found a lot of problems with it, but at the end of the day, I feel like they're problems that should be expressed, but as a whole, it doesn't really stop me from enjoying the movie. It just, I have issues with it. Yeah. That's all.
At least you like it better than Thor. If you rate it lower than Thor, we would
have
had
here's
to talk.
The thing. Here's the thing.
We would have to talk.
I liked Thor
Me too.
a lot. This trailer for Thor 2
is boring.
Oh, it looks awesome.
It looks so dumb.
Are you kidding me?
No.
It looks so like, let's go into Middle Earth.
No, I don't want that. I saw that.
I so want that.
Lord of the Rings, I want to go to fucking
Middle Earth. I so want that.
All right.
That was awesome.
I
don't give a shit about you guys.
Where do you rank Iron Man 3 in Marvel movies as a whole?
Number 2 for me. The Avengers, then Iron Man 3.
I don't know yet. I think it's tied with Iron Man 1 for number 2. I have to watch them both again to see.
Okay.
But it's definitely in the top 3.
Yeah. Definitely.
All right.
And I think the others are more just like preference choices because I like Thor more than anyone else ever does. And
Captain America.
I'm kind of disinterested in Captain America.
I'm really interested in Captain America too.
One.
The one was like just a setup I didn't really want.
Yeah, one had the same problem Iron Man 2 had, which was it had no purpose really other than being a setup movie.
Yeah.
At least Thor was a standalone film and could have been.
Yeah, it was a standalone and it's set up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Whereas Captain America was like, we got a cube.
He's in World War II. That's cool.
And you think a Captain America World War II movie would be better?
I'm actually more excited about this because Winter Soldier is
Different
one of the
direction now,
greatest Brubaker arcs of Captain America
I
around.
hope they don't fuck it up.
I'm
Captain America is always better when he's in the modern day. Anyway.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Plus, the World War II would have been better if we had gotten the Howling Commandos with Nick Fury
We kind of
and
did, but
Dum
not
Dum
really.
Dugan and Wolverine and all of the
If they could have put
Namor
Wolverine in
and
there,
the Human Torch. And
an Invaders movie, if we
Yeah.
could have gotten that, then
that would have been
Toro.
bananas.
yeah.
All right, so let's end this because this is the longest movie review we've ever done. I'm Matt,
I'm Chris.
I'm Andy.
and this has been our debate-fueled review of Iron Man 3. Oh yeah, one more problem.
What?
No.